Hey there, Whovians, and welcome to another episode of the Earth Station Who podcast. That's right, folks. We're back with the third episode of the new season. We're looking at The Well. Of course, Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor and Varada Saruth as Belinda Chandra. It's awesome. We've got a great show, and we have a new guest with us, somebody who has not been on the show before. So, of course, welcome author Daniel Budnik.
Hello, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
We'll call you Dan for short, because
yes, please.
Yeah, because we're not formal around here.
That works for me.
We just usually go, "Hey, you." So it's okay.
That works.
So welcome. You want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm a author, podcaster. I've been a fan of Doctor Who for a very, very long time. I think that might come up in an upcoming question, so I won't go too deep into that.
Spoilers.
But yeah, I am a fan, and I've recently had published the first of a 2-volume book called "When I Say Read, One Fella's Journey Through Doctor Who."
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's sort of it's in the realm of your running through corridors about time. TARDIS, is it eruditorum? I've never said it out loud. Discontinuity guide, like the book that Kim Newman wrote, stuff like that. It's my journey through every single episode from An Unearthly Child to the second volume will cover up to the Reality War. So the first volume is out through a small publisher called Throckmorton Press. And it's on Amazon, on Kindle, ebook, or paperback. And the first volume covers An Unearthly Child through part 6 of the Armageddon Factor.
Oh, wow. Okay. Something to look forward to.
I think it's fun.
We will have a link to his book up in the show notes. And, we'll hawk it again at the end of the show, of course.
Yes.
So, we're here to share with you guys. It's always a good thing. Just letting everybody know I'm a little bit under the weather right now. So if I cough and hack during it, sorry. And, this is how Melanie was last week when we reviewed. So let's welcome, of course, our regulars. Melanie Dean is back with us.
I'm back. I came back from Japan, and I had you're going to hear it in my voice because I'm going to have to keep muting here and there. So here's one. It's a persistent cough that just will not go away. We're number 12 on 12th day, and it's still here. But I'm happy to be back. Japan was amazing.
How was the trip?
Oh, it was phenomenal. Absolutely. If you can get to that country and see everything, I highly recommend it. I have more travel tips than I possibly could imagine. But no, absolutely life-changing, wonderful. But I missed them. I did have to play catch up for Doctor Who, though, since it happened while I was over there. So I got to binge, and it was wonderful.
No, of course, it totally makes sense. For those who don't know, Melanie was actually lucky enough to go to Star Wars Celebration. And, she, has the means to go to Japan. So there we go.
About that.
What?
I got all of half an hour plus the 15, 20 minutes you get of get out of the building of that because I got sick during that part.
Oh no.
Yeah. The big reason to go to Japan was Star Wars Celebration at the very end, and that's when the practically walking pneumonia hit me. But I got 30 minutes, and it was a phenomenal 30 minutes. And the good thing is, if you attended Star Wars Celebration via the Couch Con, you did not really miss too much because they really did an amazing job showing everything on the small screens, the big screens, if you were watching via your phone, you had fun. But
there you go. That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, we are very sad that you were sick, but we are so very happy to have you back on the show, my dear.
Thank you so much. But hey, if you're going to be sick, might as well be on vacation and can enjoy being in another country.
Sure. Yeah. Check out what medicines they have in that country. It's always exactly. Awesome. And let's say hi to our other regulars, of course, Ms. Mary Ogle.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here.
And, of course, Mr. Howdy himself, Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
How are you, sir?
I am peachy keen.
So, basically, if you would like, please, we'd love to hear from you guys at home. Feedback at Earth Station Who is the best way to get in touch with us. That's actually how Dan got in touch with us. And, he, wanted to hack his book. And I said, hey, you want to join us for an episode? And he said, sure.
Mm.
Oh, but, it's a good thing. But we're always glad to have new folks on the show. So please write us. We definitely would love to have you. And also, as we always like to say, tell your friends, tell your neighbors about the show. It's how we grow, folks. This is, a growth period. It's new Doctor Who, please. And, we got to celebrate all Whovian stuff. So it's pretty cool. There is not any real news out there right now. So I guess we're going to jump right into the Geek Seat segment.
Mm-mm.
And it's time for Dan to,
Oh,
strap himself in and, find out what level of
Yikes.
he
All right.
actually is. All right, Dan, are you ready for your first question in the Geek Seat?
I am.
Who was your first Doctor?
On TV, my first Doctor was the fourth.
Uh-huh.
I was given my first Holy Communion party. I was given a copy of, and I have it right here. I could show you all. Dinosaur Invasion. This is the copy. This is the one, not the one with John Pertwee on it, but the one with the Tyrannosaurus standing in front of the Capitol building. I don't know what that is
Yes.
that it's doing, but and I was given that by my uncle Raj, who's also the guy who introduced me to Sherlock Holmes and Monty Python. And he gave that to me and said, "Oh, this is kind of it's all based on a TV show that's on the PBS station, Channel 21." And and it was on Monday through Friday, and they were showing, at the time, what is it, seasons 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yep.
And I remember tuning in. The first episode I saw involved the Doctor and Sarah on some sort of jungly planet. There was a giant, outline red monster floating around, and a guy kept turning into a werewolf type thing. And at the end of the episode, the Doctor gets pushed into a big black pool. And that was Planet of Evil Part 2. And then I proceeded to not be able to see the next ones because I was a little kid and I had to follow where my mom went. So I didn't see how that wrapped up for ages. But I just fell in love with the show instantly, and gradually learned that there were, like in the Dinosaur Invasion book, that there were other Doctors and such as I went along. But yeah, it was Fourth Doctor, Planet of Evil Part 2. Sorry.
2. Awesome.
Yes.
Dan, I got to ask you a question because my first, I had seen the TV series a little bit before I got that book, but that was the first book that I got.
Oh, wow.
And the cover was a little different. It was darker, but it still had the dinosaur on the cover, but it didn't have a doctor on the cover. So
Yes.
when I was reading it, I thought it was Tom Baker Doctor.
Right.
And did you experience that as well, or was it pretty clear to you which Doctor it was?
Yeah, I actually had a look at it. Some of the Target books they used to have, and no one just listening audio can hear this, but like on the first page, they would have a little thing at the bottom that would say this book is about concerns like the third Doctor and his companion, or the first Doctor, and it would say this one didn't. And I read the first few pages when the Doctor shows up, and there's no description of him.
Right.
It just says the Doctor gets out of the TARDIS with Sarah Jane, and and I'm looking for a description. So I don't think I had any idea because it's Sarah, and so I was like,
Right.
oh, this is Sarah from the book. So yeah, I had no idea that was someone different until I don't know, maybe I got like the program guide or read Doctor Who: A Celebration a few years later or something like that.
No, that totally makes sense, Mike. I think you might have had, the Penguin or books version of it.
It might have been.
Because they put out like 5 different versions of, different stories that were mainly based for the American audience. And I think, it was pretty awesome what they did. And then Target, flooded the market with the books after.
Were those the ones with the Harlan Ellison
Yes.
introductions? Yes. Star Trek is garbage. Star Wars is the worst. Doctor Who is the best. And I thought, who is this crazy guy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the Doctor Who books I first started reading with. Because I was able to get those at B. Dalton at the time.
Yeah.
And the Target books were hard as heck to find here in the States.
Mostly like comic shops and newsstands and stuff. They'd have them on like the spinner racks with other paperbacks. And you had to kind of pick through them to find them.
Exactly.
I just find it interesting. I don't know if it was under like if they had an edict when they were doing the novelizations not to, you know, describe the doctor or place the doctor to allow the reader to just put their own doctor in there.
I feel like there were some of them like that. Yeah.
I mean, so that yeah, I haven't gone back and reread it. One of these days, I plan to do that just to see what the experience is like, to see if you know, I still feel like it's the Fourth Doctor doing it, or if,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, of
if I
course.
now that I've seen the episodes that I go, oh, now it's definitely John.
Oh, of course. Which doctor would you like to travel with?
This took a while, and I went through all of them, and I narrowed it down to the second Doctor, the fourth Doctor, Matt Smith, Jodie, or Ncuti.
Okay.
And I began to eliminate them one by one, and I ended up with Jodie
Really?
because I thought who I know me, and when I was younger, I could travel with anyone. I'm a little older now, and there's certain like the moodiness of the Fourth Doctor, or the fact that just like all I can think of with Matt Smith's Doctor is like the lodger when he's hanging out with what's his name, James Corden, is it?
Yes.
And everything the Doctor does is the best thing in the world. And all I could think of is like hanging out with that doctor, and it would be like people like coming over to me and saying, "Hey, Dave, who's your friend?" And I'd be like, "Well, first off, it's Dan, and that's the doc," you know. And I could just see people just like never paying any attention to me. And Shooty's gorgeous, and so it would just be like people coming up to me and going, or going up to him and going, "Who's the old guy you're traveling with over there?" I feel like there would be questions, and so I was thinking about it, and I thought, I'd have fun traveling with the 13th Doctor.
Interesting.
I think we'd have a good time.
That's interesting. And so you'd become a member of the fam. That's awesome.
Yes,
That's a bold move to
Yeah.
try to fill Graham's shoes. I don't I don't think I'm up for that.
That's why that's why Dan, failed so badly,
Yeah, true.
as a companion because he couldn't fill Graham's shoes, literally.
And I left out the second Doctor just because I realized Jamie is one of those people that I'd either we'd hit it off immediately and be best friends, or we'd hate each other immediately. And since Jamie's there the whole time, I was like, I can't quite do it. And there are too many base under siege stories. After about two of those, I'd be like, oh, stop. Do we have to go? Let's not even go in there. Can we just go somewhere else? But he wouldn't, because he's a doctor, and we'd go in and shenanigans.
Of course, and then you'd have to run quite a bit.
That's a lot.
What doctor would you not want to travel with?
I chose the fifth.
Really?
Yeah, because
I think this is the first.
Yeah.
a bunch of factors. One is you don't know what Tegan you're going to get. Are you going to get 19th season Tegan, who just complains that she wants to go the whole time, or 21st season Tegan, who actually wants to be there, and when she's complaining, it's just because she complains? Or, are you going to get there when Turlo is there and trying to destroy the TARDIS every hour? Mm-hmm. And so it's a doctor with like no sonic screwdriver, no psychic paper. It's a doctor who is not, because they were trying to make it the opposite of Tom Baker, he's not a particularly commanding doctor, which is part of his charm, but at the same time, not something I'd be interested. I'd want, if I was traveling with like, I'd prefer a Tom Baker or a John Pertwee, a bit more sort of commanding in charge kind of doctor if I was looking for something like that. And the big thing is that I like my doctor to be funny. And I just think just because of the edict from JNT to take out the humor, because he thought it was getting too much of Tom Baker, the Peter Davison era is the least funny era. To me, it doesn't get much funnier with Colin Baker, but there's an attempt. And Sylvester McCoy does clown around now and then. But the Peter Davison era, we know he's a funny actor, and we know he wanted to add stuff to it. But it's just like it's an era where it's there aren't a lot of laughs, and I like laughs with my doctor. And so that's actually the main thing is I just don't find that doctor funny, and nor is he really meant to be. So that would be it.
Totally makes sense. What geeks you out the most about Doctor Who?
I think just it's the character of the Doctor themselves is what does it for me. That was when I watched that first episode, just seeing all this stuff that looked Star Trek-y, with the military guys and the jungles and monsters and stuff like that. In the middle of it, there's this goofy guy with the hat and the scarf and the hair and the big smile, taking it all very seriously, but also having a good time and joking around, and when he when he said something funny, it was actually funny, as opposed to, like, say, a show like the original Star Trek, where if someone told a joke, it was usually at the end of the episode, and they all did that freeze frame thing where that kind of thing. And so I think for me, yeah, and for me, it's the actual character of the Doctor. What we've learned of them throughout all the regenerations, all the stories, and all the everything, the good moments, the bad moments, the terrible moments, the uplifting moments. It's one of my favorite characters of all time, and if there's a and even like when they do episodes where they leave the Doctor out, like would have the Doctor Light episodes, or if you read like a lot of the Virgin novels from the 90s, they would leave him out for long stretches. But at the end of the day, I think Stephen Moffat said in an interview once, you can throw in as many supporting characters as you want. At the end of the day, people want to see the Doctor.
Sure.
And so for me, it's the character. I love the character. That's how I can put up with stories that are kind of terrible, because the Doctor's in it, and it keeps me going. If it were any other show, I'd have a tougher time with, like, when you hit an episode that you get to the end of, that kind of stunk. But I like the Doctor, and I want to see what's going to happen next. So the character of this crazy Time Lord.
Very awesome. What turns your geek off about Doctor Who?
I think sort of a bit of what I just mentioned there, the weird sort of the unevenness of it, because there's so many shows out there that run for lots and lots of episodes that can keep a pretty solid quality level throughout. Whereas Doctor Who could do this weird thing where, like, it'll have 3 brilliant episodes, then an episode that just is terrible, and just you're like, and it's funny because I don't think, like, what if RTD or Steve Moffat or Chris Chibnall, if they're putting together their seasons, or back in the day, Hinchcliffe, Verity Lambert, back at the beginning, some of that, I don't think they're going, like, putting together something going, man, this one's going to stink. Everyone's going to hate this. I feel like every single one they're doing is going to be the best. But there's something about the show that, like, I feel like you can't really tell. It's like what they say with the giant rat and Talons of Wen-Chiang. It looked great in the studio, but when it was on screen, it looked awful. And so it's one of those things where I feel like every single story they do is great, but but then some of them come out and you watch them, and some of them are great, and then some of them just aren't. And I don't always know why. Sometimes you can tell, but a lot of times it's like, oh, that's too bad. And so and that happens back in the original run, like at the end of the Third Doctor era, where things got a little tired, in the mid '80s, where things got a little strange at the end of the Colin Baker, like with JNT and Eric Sayward, they're having trouble. And so, that's my one thing with it, is I never quite know what's going to happen next. And I would just love it. Yeah, it's so rare to get a season where everything is kind of right in the same spot of beautiful quality. There's always at least one or two where you're like, but it doesn't keep me up at night, but it is something where I think, gosh, I wish it didn't happen, but I guess that's part of the show.
No, of course. Which Doctor Who companion would you like to meet the most?
My first thought was Chameleon, because I couldn't decide who I was going to do. And then I thought, wait a minute, Chameleon could become any of them. True. So perfect. But then I thought, Dan, is that really a proper choice? So then I went with Sarah Jane, because she was my first companion. And she was so wonderful originally in the show, and then Sarah Jane Adventures. And at a convention, I met Elizabeth Sladen a long time ago, and she was at the bar, and I just talked to her for it feels like it was 10 or 15 minutes. It was probably 2, but it was just a lovely conversation, and she was so wonderful. And I just thought she's awesome. So I'll go with Sarah Jane. If we can't do Sarah Jane, it'll be Chameleon.
Okay, no. Which Doctor Who villain would you like to meet the least?
I am going to go with a this actually ties in with the episode we're about to talk about, because the villain I'd like to meet the least is one that sort of pops up in different forms throughout the series, and that's the human or humanoid mob. So like in Midnight, the people on the bus thing. What was it? RTD said Gridlock was showing humans at their best. Midnight was showing them at their worst. And the mob in there, or the like, to go way back to the massacre. At the end of episode 3 of the massacre, the abbot of Amboise is killed. And Stephen thinks it's the doctor, and so he's kind of like leaning over the body going, "Doctor, doctor," but everyone else thinks it's the abbot, and so this crazy mob goes, "He killed the abbot," and they all storm after, and the episode ends with a mob of crazy people who will kill him if they catch him. And also, I was thinking of things like, say, in the Reign of Terror, like when they meet the soldiers in the first episode, these just random kind of dumb guys who hold sway over life and death. And just sort of any time a mob of people shows up and dies, even like the Sunmakers, for example, the sort of underground dweller people, they kind of come over in the end, but I don't know that they become good. They just stop being as bad. And they have the scene where they throw the Gatherer off the roof of the building, which is either heroic and delightful or kind of, ugh. Yeah, it's tough to say, So to me, that's the villain. It would be just a random group of people in a Doctor Who story who have turned against the Doctor, or something good that is trying to happen and have just become one faceless thing. The witch episode, the Jodie Whittaker witch episode, obviously has some of that in it too. So that
very much so, very, very much so. What was your favorite Doctor Who geek out moment?
I was going to say the 50th anniversary, but I think the last 2 times people said the 50th anniversary,
and that's okay.
It was a heck of a time, because I realized it was almost like Christmas. Because like every day leading up to it, there was something extra, something special that happened. And then when it actually happened, it was wonderful. And you're tied in with so many other people watching at the same time. But I'm going to go for the, I'm in Los Angeles, and every year I try to get to the Gallifrey 1 convention, which is the big Doctor Who convention here by the LAX. Right. And in 2006, I went, and that was the first year. The first one I went to was 2002, and for the first couple of years, it's in February. The first couple of years, there was almost no one there. And 2004 was the year when we knew the show was coming back, but no one knew what was happening. 2005, Doctor Who Confidential was there, looking for all the cosplayers, and everyone was really excited, although we still didn't know what was happening. But then 2006, there were like twice as many people. There were quite a few people involved in the show. Mark Gatiss, Rob Shearman, Stephen Moffat, and Paul Cornell were all there.
Oh, wow.
And lots of other people. And it was just a weekend of just like people who had never thought the show was going to come back, especially after the TV movie in 96, who never thought the show was going to come back. Most of us had seen the show and really liked it. And we're excited because there was going to be another season, and they'd already picked it up for another season. And it was just this general excitement the whole weekend of just like talking to people about it, and people being excited about it. And they weren't allowed to show in the video room new episodes. So they had a secondary video room, which you kind of found out about or you didn't find out about. Because you'd walk in the video room and you'd be like, I love Meglos as much as anyone else, but could we see Rose instead? But there'd be a second room they'd guide you towards. And you'd go in there, there'd be a bunch of people in there, and everyone was so excited. And it was just kind of like a thrilling weekend to like, after waiting so long, it was back, and we didn't have to pretend like we didn't like it anymore. Oh, Doctor Who, yeah, I watch that sometimes. Well, then why do you have a trunk full of videotapes? That's not Doctor Who, that kind of thing. Finally, we were able to say, yes, this is a show, we love it, it's back, and it's darn good. So
I love it. Love it. What was your most disappointing Doctor Who geek out moment?
I'm going to go with the TV movie, just because while I generally enjoy the TV movie, the actual the build up to it, and I was in some sort of fan club at the time. I forget what it was called. And they were sending out postcards that had like, save the date, the Doctor is back, and it's about time, and all this stuff. We were getting so excited. But the problem was that in like 1996, when it aired, I don't think I'd met a fellow Doctor Who fan in like 5 or 6 years. Like no one I knew watched Doctor Who, and if they knew of it, they kind of remembered it vaguely from the mid '70s, and the guy with the scarf, or maybe not, and they remembered it being cheap and maybe not worth watching. And I had to actually, because I didn't have the apartment I was living in, I didn't have cable, I didn't have an antenna, so I went to a friend's place to record it, and he wasn't a fan, so it was just 2 hours of me recording it and him sitting next to me going, "What is this?
That sounds
Who's
about
that?
right.
What's going on?" But when I got to the end, I thought, "Hey, that was pretty good." But then the next day, I ran into some people I worked with who were like, "I watched that. I didn't like it," and suddenly it was like all this excitement within like a couple of weeks. It was like, yeah, it didn't. The ratings weren't great. Roseanne beat it in the ratings, and it didn't do so great, and they're not going to make any more. And within a few weeks, it was kind of like dead again, and it kind of flared up, and then it was gone, it was tough to explain because it wasn't like when it came back in 2005. I would gladly show anyone. I would sit down everyone I knew with Rose, End of the World, and Unquiet Dead, and I would say, watch these three. If you get nothing out of these, carry on.
Exactly.
But if these grab your attention, keep watching. But with the 1996 TV movie, I didn't show it to anyone. I was like, I feel like I'd be answering more questions than I needed to, and it just felt weird. So for me, that was kind of, I still like it, and when I watch the show sort of in order, I look forward to it. But it was just like, I don't know if it was a missed opportunity because it was a primetime TV movie. They didn't miss the opportunity; it just didn't work. So
Okay, no, totally fair. All right. Dan, are you ready for your final question in the Geek Seat? All right. This one is for all the marbles. Just always remember that. And we got a bag of marbles right here for you. So,
yes.
What or who would you like to see on Doctor Who?
I think I'm gonna do a mix of a what and the who. I think my wife and I started watching on Netflix. I think it's called the show is called The Residence. It's about a murder in the White House, and we've watched the first few episodes. It's a lot of fun. I'm hoping it can sustain itself, just being one murder across all the episodes. I'm imagining it can, but we watched the first 2 episodes, and there was one point where the detective is on, and I said, "I like her outfit," and my wife said, "She's dressed like the Doctor," and I said, "Yeah, she kind of is." And then I was sort of thinking about all the shows that I've watched over time where I thought, I wonder if that character was the Doctor. Because I always thought, I'm a big Happy Days fan. I always thought the Fonz was the Doctor. And there are other shows where I watch and I go, that character seems like the... So what I would love is either within Doctor Who itself or within these shows, I would love, probably within the Doctor Who itself, to see like an episode of Doctor Who where like the Doctor meets Henry Winkler and the Fonz. And we suddenly learned that the Fonz is like the fugitive Doctor. He's like another Doctor who maybe like settled down in 1950s, Milwaukee. We learned that the detective in The Residence is also the Doctor. And all those people you looked at throughout pop culture and said, I feel like Sherlock, well, maybe not Sherlock, well, maybe, just like looking at them. And I always think like someone like a bit like Sean Spencer in Psych. Could he be the Doctor? Because he solves all these things and he almost has these supernatural powers, and he's in a very serious show, but he's a goofball like the Doctor. So that's what I would like to see. Maybe a run of episodes where other pop culture characters from across television, history, whatever, kind of show up, and we learn that they're the Doctor, and we see why, and the Doctor explains to whoever the current Doctor is why they're there. What they're up to, all this kind of thing. I decided to retire here, or I needed a break and I went here, or something like that. That's what I'd like to see, and I expect to see it in the next series.
Interesting. That is real interesting. Well, sir, I've got some great news for you. You've made it through the Geek Seat. Congratulations, sir.
Thank goodness.
Mr. Mike Gordon, tell the young man what he's won.
You have won a lifetime of base under siege stories, starting with this episode that we're going to review right today.
With no psychic paper. Yay, fantastic.
Awesome.
Ouch.
That is awesome. Well, sir, congratulations.
Thank you.
Like Dan here, if you want to take a shot at the Geek Seat, please write us feedback at earthstationwho.com. It's the best way to get in touch with us. And you too can get strapped down and talk all about your Whovian goodness. Let's take a quick break now and let us come back. And we will be taking a peek at the well. Welcome back. Now we are looking at the third episode of the 15th season of Doctor Who. We are looking at The Well, of course, featuring the 15th Doctor and Belinda Chandra. And of course, we have this episode was written by a new writer for the show, which was awesome. And Russell T. Davies. So we had Russell T. Davies and Sharma Angel Waffle. And I know it's not waffle, but it's waffle. But
now I want waffles.
I know waffles. But yes, and it was an interesting episode. I did not expect this episode to be as dark as it was, and especially after the first two episodes. And this is when Doctor Who does Doctor Who well, is when they get really dark like this. Yeah, I know. Air quotes. But
that's why it's called The Well.
Exactly. So at least they didn't go to the well once too often, as I was hoping not.
Boy,
so
this is going to be a punny episode.
Oh, you think it's just getting started, my friends. Okay, let's get initial thoughts about this episode. Let's start with Mr. Gordon.
I thought this was okay. I thought this was it felt to me like a filler episode. I thought it was okay. I thought it was really directed well and edited really well. The tension and acted well. I didn't think the script was really well done. I think that there's a lot of things that were regurgitated or reused in this and put together. I don't know. I might have that on my mind because, when we talked to Syrian last week, he brought up how all these episodes seem to be incorporating a lot of different vibes or actual scenes or moments or dialogue from various other Doctor Who stories. And I don't know if I was just on alert mode while I was watching this, but I got not only is it in my opinion, not a great sequel to Midnight, but they made it into a sequel to Midnight. It's got, sort of the something on your back, something behind you from Turn Left. It's got vibes from the Satan Pit in it. It just seems like we've seen this before. And at the end of the day, I thought it was well done and well told and well acted, but yet I can't say that this was like really, really high up on my list of ones I wanted to see. I thought it was just kind of there.
Okay. Mary.
I like this episode, but it's interesting. It's not as good as its predecessor, Midnight, I will say that. But it made me realize, or at least start to ponder, certain things that are, I think, going on in the arc of the season. Like the repetition, I think, is very deliberate. Like there's a reason these things keep repeating.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that too, but
yeah,
it's just happening too much for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah, I think they're doing it very deliberate. In fact, I think even the crying is a deliberate repetition, that there is a reason why that happens every single time. I don't know what the reason is. Virtual reality, time glitch, whatever Doctor Who thing they come up with. But I think it's very deliberate. And I think the other deliberate thing is that every episode from this season, well, actually since we started, there's a tie-in to childish things like toys, comic strips, cartoons. In fact, I think this episode was action figures. And so I'm really wondering if there's like some sort of like childish god or something, because of the pantheon of gods that's going on. I don't know. Haven't worked that out yet. Certainly not coherently. And it's RTD, so who knows if he'll work it out coherently. But I do think there's something really going on under the surface here, and this episode did make me really start to realize, oh yeah, there's definitely more here going on. I liked the episode more than you did. I mean, I just liked it as I know it was just like your basic base under siege story,
Oh yeah.
but I think the character of Alice was wonderful.
Oh, Alice was
I
awesome.
loved her. The actress portrayed her so well, and her quiet strength and her insistence on not being treated as the other because of her disability. And when the doctor turns his back because he doesn't want her to be able to hear, and she says, "Don't you turn your back on me." I mean, I that character for me really made the episode.
Nope. Nope. I love that. I thought that was cool. Mel.
I kind of went into this one without seeing much of like the trailers and stuff like that. So I was not prepared for the midnight part to it. I don't know if they tipped their hat in anything previously where people
No,
kind of
I don't,
already
They
I
knew,
don't
didn't.
think
but
so.
No, they didn't.
no,
I didn't know that going in. So
I was
no, like
I was hearing that, this was a sequel to an earlier episode because Russell T Davies had said in an interview, keep an eye for episode 3 and then episode 6, I think.
okay.
And so I was thinking is the name The Well, I was thinking of the Satan Pit.
That was why my first thing was
Yeah.
too. Is I was thinking the Satan Pit, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, they're doing like a little callbacky kind of thing.
hmm
And at first, I was just like, this is aliens. We're at aliens, complete with I hear one heartbeat, and the things going. All I could think was like the tick, 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 as they're going down the corridor. Um, I
Wait a minute. Then they're pulling up and it's all xenomorphs and everything.
right, and I'm like, I'm waiting for that. Because I mean, they got the neat little spacesuits and all that kind of fun stuff. But I enjoyed it, and I know I was pleasantly surprised when it ended up being midnight because I'm like, because I know my jaw did drop. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing here. That's kind of cool.
hmm
Um, and building again more on these people have never heard about Earth. They've never heard about humans and all that. And I liked how they're playing with this. So I'm I'm happy with this episode that we're clearly building towards something. We see Mrs. Flood again. So I'm like, lady, what is your
We'll
deal?
get to that in a few. Don't worry. Don't worry. This is initial thoughts now. This is initial.
Okay. So yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Is it going to be like the greatest thing that I'm going to rewatch over and over again? But I did enjoy it. I had fun.
Okay. Dan.
I really liked it. I did not know. I didn't see anything ahead of time. I just knew what was it they go to a abandoned mine thing and there's only one survivor. So when it started off, I thought aliens. I thought Event Horizon when they find all the people, the massacre and such, and some other Doctor Who things mixed in there. And along the way, as we learn what's going on, I also thought of like Smile and It Follows and all sorts of other wonderful things, which is what Doctor Who does a lot of. And it was one of those stories where it started and it was up until they found Alice, it was just interesting enough where I was like, okay, where are we going? And I didn't know if it was going to be sort of those one and done episodes that's okay but vaguely unsatisfying, where you're like, okay, they kind of arrive at a place, there's a lot of setup, they find the thing and then it's done. And so I'm watching. I'm like, okay, where's this going to go? And then Alice shows up, and she's really wonderful. And I love Ncuti's scenes with her. And then the moment I found out it was a sequel to Midnight, I paused it, and I was alone in the room. But I turned to an invisible person next to me, and I said, "Oh, interesting." And then I started it up again. And the moment it became a sequel to Midnight, to me, I was like, okay, so all my worry about whether it's going to be a one and done or something like that, that all goes out the window because it's a sequel to something from so long ago, taking place so long after that. And when you get to the end of it, when I got to the end of it, I thought we're either going to get another episode soon or 17 years from now, a part 3. I don't know, but I really overall I enjoyed it. I thought it was very tense. I thought it was exciting. I love the two main sets. I also love the fact that I realized that in the third episode in the last series, most of Boom takes place with one person standing with a bunch of people around them, and that person can't move. And this was exactly like that too for much of it. And so you see that, like you said, Mike, it's sort of like there's a lot going on that you can look at and go, this is from this, and this is from that, and this is from that. Now I love the monster or the whatever it is, and I will say that the moment when the Alice is standing there and the Mercury curtain is falling behind her, and the music is playing and the camera starts tracking back, I was like, I had chills, and I thought, oh wow, this is really great. And I watched it a second time, the chills continued. So it wasn't just the one chill shot; it's a double chiller. So overall, I had a good time. I thought I quite enjoyed it.
I thought it was pretty fun. I enjoyed this one too, and I've only had a chance to watch it once. I'm curious now on rewatch if I'm going to jump like I did, like when Belinda first saw something behind the back, and it was just like, and it was interesting, and the paranoia, the suspense was wonderful. I thought that was great. And then, the look on the doctor's face when they found out, what was this planet called 400,000 years ago? Midnight. And that was awesome. Ncuti caught that really, really well. It was interesting. I thought it was kind of funny, the doctor and Belinda changing into the perfect spacesuits that just happened to be the same ones that,
It's the fashion of the day.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, exactly. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. But I enjoyed it. I thought this was, it was predictable. There were lots of base under siege. Aliens popped to mind a couple different times. The soldiers and everything. But what made it for me was the character of Alice. She was awesome. And I loved that they didn't shy away from her being deaf or hearing impaired. And I loved it. I loved how they had the screens where they were talking and it was like a closed caption that they could see. And, and I loved even when, she said, I can read lips, and, it was really, really good. I know from watching The Confidential, when they first wrote this, they didn't write it for a hearing impaired person. Alice was not supposed to be. And they liked the actress so well, they rewrote the script for it. And I think it added to it, truthfully.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I mean, she is the best thing about this. You're right. Because it went through, my understanding is the script went through a number of different drafts. Way back when he was first cast, Ncuti Gatwa was asked where he would take the TARDIS during his tenure, if it was up to him. And his reply that he would love for the Doctor to visit Nigeria. And so this was kind of done. Shamra Angel-Waffle, who did the script, featured Nigerian spirits. I'm not as familiar with their religion, so I'm not sure. But she kind of featured something like them as the antagonist of the story. But Russell didn't feel like it was really working with his pantheon that he set up, and then so he rewrote the episode with them, the creature being from Midnight instead, which I kind of question Russell T. It's like, it doesn't have to be the Pantheon, and it doesn't have to be about Midnight either. Like, it doesn't have to connect to Midnight. I thought the connections to Midnight were too loose and didn't really work for me. And I wish they had just gone with, some, which is what I think they were trying to do in the beginning. And
Right.
I think that they kind of diluted it by doing that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. In Midnight, didn't the creature possess the woman in it?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's like if I wasn't told that this was the creature from Midnight, I wouldn't know that it was the creature from Midnight because it doesn't act like the creature from Midnight at all.
No.
Yeah, it has. It's a very different. I mean, but it ties into my repetition theory in the sense that in Midnight, the creature forces everyone to repeat
Yes.
what everyone else is saying.
Right.
So it's all about repetition and just how creepy it is, just for that one thing to be happening.
I did
Yes.
wonder how the creature ended up trapped in this deep 5 mile down well when the last time we had seen it, the hostess that we never, the stewardess that we never know her name, grabbed her and went, wee, and they just jumped out.
Yep.
It's like, how did you get in a well? That's a mighty long fall. But
And we go
Okay.
through all this.
Well, because they were mining for the diamonds.
mm,
Because
and
it
we
was
go
a
through all
planet
this.
made of diamonds.
We go through all this, and as Dan pointed out, I mean, it's free at the end. So it's like it's not resolved. It's just sort of like this sort of in between chapter.
Well,
if they're going to tell this chapter.
It does feel like
this.
the second, in the end, it feels like a second part for something. And like I said, I'm hoping it gets resolved soon rather than waiting for 17
Well,
more
and I
years.
hope they don't make the Midnight Creature one of the pantheon of gods.
I mean,
Yeah, I really hope
great
they
if
don't
it
do
was-
that.
No.
I don't think that's a good idea.
yeah, I don't think so either.
Just
So,
miss-
yeah, I think Russell had the opportunity to do that here, and he chose not to. So I thank him for that. But I like I said, I don't know why this couldn't have been something completely different and new. Why it had to tie in with Midnight at all. It didn't seem to make sense. But maybe it will once we find out
Yeah.
what this whole like thing is going on. But I did like, like I said, the direction was great. The tension, between the characters, the tension of the scenes, the suspense was all really well played out. I watched it twice as well, Dan, and I'll tell you, the second time there's some moments that are just so intense there. And it's so intense that you actually forget, like, oh, I could probably pause this and see if there is something behind it.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm sure there are people out there that have done that to see
Yeah.
what was there.
They were pretty loose with it, I will say, because there is something that moves, but it's really unclear as to what it is. And I love the fact that they didn't feel the need to. And I hope that's not where this is going. If they do a third part or whatever, that we reveal more and more about what this creature is, because I don't want to know it. The scary thing about it is,
Right.
that we don't know. So but it felt like a 10th Doctor RTD story to me. It really did, with the base under siege and the storyline and all the great characters and the actors playing them that you really care about, every single one of them, even the ones you don't like. You sort of care about, and I really felt like that was really, really well done and well played, where all the characters kind of got moments where whatever, you knew that they weren't all going to come out of this alive, and you're kind of like worried about almost all of them.
I'm stopping and I'm screaming at my screen saying, "Will you stop moving?" And they're all just like,
I know. Like,
Exactly.
like, we know what happens when you go behind. Don't go behind. Like how
Just
hard
don't
is
do
that?
it.
I'm gonna keep doing this.
But it's a very horror movie because that's what you do in every horror movie. Don't go upstairs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't split up. Yeah. Exactly.
Don't go in the woods. That's the worst
yeah.
thing you could do.
But I liked how she was like, all right, she hits her little thing, casts to the other guy, and was like, do a 180. And that was she sacrificed him.
Yes.
But it was I'm sorry, I had to stop this. And I'm going, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
the
well, you
wheel
did.
just kept spinning.
And that guy was one of those characters. If this had been like a second Doctor base under siege, him doing the red code or whatever it's called, that would have been like 2 episodes or so. He would have taken over for like 2 episodes, and we would have had weeks of that. But here they speed it up. And I'm glad, because sometimes that's fun and sometimes it's a little rough.
And it's funny to
Exactly.
see that Christopher Chung is continuing his, reputation of playing jerks in whatever show, because a lot of folks know him from the Apple Plus show Slow Horses, and he plays a total asshole on that show too.
Oh, I was going to say I would love to see sort of and as you said, Mike, I don't particularly want the Midnight Creature to be. I don't like when they didn't quite show at the end. I thought perfect. I got it. I don't need to say. But then there's another part that when I got to the end of it the second time, I thought, you know what? Almost accidentally, depending upon how he treats this creature the next time it shows up, RTD might be something that could show up in like a big 2-part series finale. I mean, if it gets behind people and it starts to take over more and more people, and people don't know that it's happening, it just begins to alter everything and change it. Because we don't know what it can do, and it survived. I mean, I see it as being like in Midnight, it was on the plains of this planet, and it was goofing around. it was like going in there and just kind of screwing around with people just because it could. And then when the lady ejected it into space, it was just like bye bye, see you later kind of thing. And then everyone came, stripped the planet, and I don't know if it was hiding in the well, trying not to be caught, or waiting for them to get to it. So then
at a certain level down,
maybe like put it at a certain level where it's like this is as far as they're going to go. So when it hits me, I can get off of here. I just have to hop from person to person to person till I'm at the last person. And then someone will come in, and then I'll hop to them. But the problem is the person he hops to can't hear them, so she can't actually assist in
The paranoia.
sending it, moving it from one way.
The whispering and such.
Exactly. So I think like in the third one, if we ever have one, I'd be interested to see where we go, but I don't really want to see it. And I don't. What are they going to name it? Like, here's the evil of Bob or something like that. Like what would they call it? Just like and so I'm half interested to see part 3, and kind of good with where it kind of left us in this creepy space.
Right.
Yeah, I hope we never get a part 3, because actually one of the points of Midnight was that you never saw the monster.
Right.
That was one of the reasons why it was so effective. So don't ruin that,
but
please.
That's one of the things with Midnight, and I think we talked about this in the review what we did. It also talked about human paranoia, and it also talked about how easy it is to turn the crowd, like Dan said during the Geek Seat, to turn the crowd against the Doctor. In that episode, they were ready to throw the Doctor off the bus, in that episode because of the Midnight Creature. And this one, just don't go behind its back, basically, or and that was a grisly way. It's literally shattered every bone in the body.
That was very Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was the other thing. They actually showed dead bodies, which is not something you usually see in Doctor Who. And so I thought that was actually very effective when you first walk in and there are like these shattered bodies lying everywhere. And it was, for me, I like the horror episodes. Like I love the Philip Hinchcliffe era. The darker episodes. I love Midnight. I think it's a brilliant episode. So for us I think that's one of the reasons why I liked this episode so as much as I did, because it was great to get back to that darker tone. I was really glad they went there, because Doctor Who does it well when they go there.
Right. No, very much so. What did you guys think of the character of Shea, the commander?
Oh, yeah.
She's great. Yet another, female captain sacrificing herself for the Doctor, which we've seen before.
Multiple times.
Yeah, many, many, many times.
Exactly. So, that's kind of been played out. So I think, some of that stuff like didn't hit me that well, because I was just like, come on, man, I've seen this before a lot. Like, it's not like, there's one thing to use things that we recognize and be like, yeah, that's a Doctor Who thing. It's another thing to just be like, yeah, come on, we've seen that before. So, I liked, like I said, I thought the acting across the board with all the characters was top notch, especially from Ncuti and Veretta. Like they are cementing themselves as a really great team.
Yes.
I already like her more than I liked Ruby. I'm I didn't see her in the preview for the next episode, so I'm kind of like, please don't tell me we're like taking a pass from her for a while. But I think they have great chemistry. There's great scenes that they have together. She learns a little bit more about him and his history with things. And I just think that the scenes with her interacting with I can't remember her name now. The character, is it Alyssa? No.
Oh, Alyssa?
Yeah.
Alyssa,
I thought those were just as effective as Ncutis with her. So like they were really like they've won me over. This TARDIS crew has won me over. I think they're great.
I agree with that completely. I think it's becoming a great team TARDIS.
There's a lovely moment.
Yes.
I think where in Robot Revolution where the doctor's doing something there and Belinda says just like a doctor standing around while the nurses do all the work, and in this one there's the moment where she's trying to help Alice and the doctor's talking to her in sign language, and Belinda is unable to talk to her, and Alice says something like, a nurse who doesn't know sign language, that's illegal. Yeah. And the doctor and Belinda kind of look at each other for a moment. I thought, was that a little, zing back, like there, like the doctor's not a total dope. He knows something.
Oh,
well, I like the fact that Belinda says that it should be illegal. Like, you're right, it should be, and it's my bad.
Yeah, that's a lovely moment. Yeah,
yeah, it's as good as his line where he says, where the doctor says something to the effect of, "It doesn't matter the year, signing still makes some people paranoid."
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
So I love all of that attention. What I didn't love was the fact that they kind of tried to make it so that her disability was the reason for why she was there and survived. But that didn't work at all to me. It's like she can't hear the voices. Who cares? Like what effect does that have on anything? Like I didn't understand why that was even relevant.
Well, it couldn't drive her crazy.
Exactly what Mary just said is where I was going with that.
But on the other hand, it's just her by herself. I mean, what is she gonna like? How would the creature like benefit if she went crazy? I guess, I don't know what that. Yeah, I don't know what that means really.
No, I'm sure the creature or whatever it was frustrated, and it's like more people to kill. Ha 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 ha. When the rescue
had to wait a while.
15 days. Yeah. It's not that long.
A little over a fortnight.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so, poor Alice was just like sitting there for 14 days waiting for somebody to show up.
Surrounded by dead bodies.
Dead bodies. That's enough to drive a sane person,
Yes.
Cuckoo.
Yes.
Did anyone think that she should have got one final scene like in the end? Because we see her go up the lift, and then I expected to see her one more time, but you don't see her again. She goes up the lift, signs once to the doctor, thank you. The lift door's closed, and then we don't see her again.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice though in that scene there was only 3 of them in the lift, but the thing said 4 people in there?
No, I didn't.
No.
Yes.
Oh. Now I'm going to watch it again.
I did not notice that.
Yes. Ha ha ha.
Ha 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 ha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was just interesting with that.
Yeah, it is interesting, but it makes, again, no sense because if the creature's there, because we know that the creature was still on the planet when they left, so
of course
it couldn't have been the creature. It had to be maybe a different one. Maybe it's the one that was in Midnight.
Yeah, there could be different things. Yeah, I wonder.
There could be multiple.
We don't know for sure that the creature is still there when they left.
Yeah, you don't know, and you don't know if that woman killed herself for no reason if the creature was on the other person. Yeah. So, and I didn't really care for the scene, where, they ended up shooting Belinda.
Mm-hmm.
That was, that was my weak point for it, truthfully. And, I'll take possession of the creature, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. Oh, and she's the best shot in the world. So, yeah, she's easy to get.
Thank goodness.
What do you guys think of, now we're getting a little bit more that people don't remember Earth. People don't know humans.
I mean, that's
maybe it's for the best. Oh, no. Yeah.
The Earth has been destroyed.
Yeah. Because, we got that teaser when they couldn't get there, and it was the paper and the pyramids were floating by.
The Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty was floating by.
The Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. A car, with its headlights still on.
It was intriguing, but like Mike sort of mentioned, there was a bit of a feeling like, I feel like we've sort of been down this route before, haven't we? With like, where's the Earth, or what's going on, what's happening?
The Earth's been kidnapped. How many times?
Stolen. Yeah. The Earth was stolen. But I'm sure when we get to the finale, it'll be more than that. But
it'll be Davros and the Daleks again.
Of course, it'll be.
We've destroyed Gallifrey and Skaro a million times, so Why not the Earth?
Why not
Why
the
not?
Earth?
Let's
Yeah,
do that
we
again.
destroyed the Earth right at the beginning of the run and end of the world. So why not?
Exactly.
Well, they still have to be, the Earth is still in the way of an interplanetary bypass. They
Yes,
need to
that's
go
true.
through that
That's
system.
true. And all the
Right.
plans were available.
Exactly.
We just didn't bother.
Exactly.
So if we're going to be pulling from science fiction and Doctor Who history, use
Yeah.
Douglas Adams.
Exactly.
Douglas Adams,
You've
yeah.
had 30 years to look up the plans.
Exactly.
Beware of the leopard. Yeah, I didn't go down there.
It's not your fault that you just, we put him out there.
And it just happened to be on May 24th, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. The one thing I didn't like in this episode, because I really enjoyed this one, I didn't like the Mrs. Flood scene this episode.
Oh,
I really did not enjoy this one.
I'm sorry, you mean the squadron leader Chinchapa scene?
Exactly.
I didn't see Mrs. Flood here.
Yeah.
I mean, it was basically Susan Twist all over again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
Yeah,
way it's been playing
what
out
I,
this
that's
season.
exactly what I told
That's-
Judy.
That's what it's
we're
been
getting
doing this year.
we're getting, Susan Twist all over again, and
is it arced over 2 series or?
it's like I don't want that.
Yeah, I really
Well.
hope that they're going somewhere else with that.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the episode, when they come out dressed in the outfits, they're listening to Toxic from, I mentioned End of the World, which is from which they listen to in End of the World. And the moment I heard that, I thought, I wonder if what's that? What? I guess I guess is that a reference to the fact that the Earth explodes
Yep.
in the end of the world?
That's what I was thinking too. Because I was just
Yeah,
thinking of
yeah.
that episode with Cassandra.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
the old
yeah.
old Earth song.
Yes. Well, they also played Tainted Love, and so there you go. And at least we didn't get that for this episode. So there you go.
Probably only a matter of time.
Yeah. I will say this. This has been the most suspenseful episode of Doctor Who in the Ncuti era. And
Really?
yeah, I thought so.
Wow. Okay.
And I enjoyed it. And I'm going to be very curious to see what these ratings are going to be tonight.
Really, even the Mercury curtain when she shot the 2 pieces and it just slowly started coming together because you're waiting for it to get to that midpoint to be the mirror.
Yep.
Because it took its time.
Of course. So, all right, let's go ahead and rate this one. 1 out of 5 TARDISes. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Dan, you got to go first.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go with 4.25. And if there's
He
a
has
third,
been listening. This is good.
and I kind of want to go with 4.5, but I would really kind of like to see if they're not going to. Let's get back together in 17 years. If they haven't done anything with the Midnight Creature, I'll bump it to 4.5. But if they have, we'll see how I go, because it feels like like was mentioned, like the middle part of a trilogy almost, or middle part of something. Where now it could be out or it might not be out. And so I kind of like to see where it goes next. But as it is, 4.25.
Okay. Because that'll be Russell T. Davies coming back for the 3rd time on this.
Right.
By that
He's
point.
90 years old.
Listen, at 17 years old, we're not going to be that far behind.
Yeah.
We'll be years old there. So, all right, Melanie.
Funny enough, my gut reaction was giving this a 4 because I really do enjoy this episode. I don't think it's a 4.5, so I kind of want to echo Dan with 4.25 because it's, to me, I really enjoyed it, even though those parts where I'm like, I don't like this. This isn't great, but it was shot really well. The production design was really good, especially when you have only 2 different, scenes was nice. I like that they had fun with the camera angles a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
They were good on stretching out the suspense when they needed to. And then when they didn't, and they decided just to start having the free for all of keep spinning around and kill people, it was so frenetic, it was insane. No, I'll give it a good 4.25 also.
Okay.
I'm stealing Dan's quarter. I'm doing the same
Okay.
thing.
Mary.
I'm going to give it a 4. I enjoyed this episode a lot, mostly for the characterization. And I mean, that's where RTD shines anyway.
Sure.
And it really came through in this episode. Even like you said, the characters that that you may not like so much, you still care about them when they go. And I think it was a very typical base under siege story as far as plot wise goes. And yeah, there's some sort of, like there's actually a lot of hand wavy things going on, like the spacesuits and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's just Doctor Who. I mean, I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I would recommend it. So
Okay.
I think it's 4.
4. Okay. Mr. Gordon.
I'm going to give it a 3.5. Because I did enjoy it overall, even watching it the second time, and I'll probably watch it again, because it has rewatch ability factor to it. That's really great. And I'm glad that, Doctor Who this season, we went and got a darkish episode. But when I look at even Ncuti's run, if I compare this to 73 yards, this is pale in comparison to that brilliant episode. So I wish they'd kind of gone further into doing something original rather than tying it in with Midnight or tying it in with the Pantheon, or it seemed like that was really kind of clipping this off when it didn't, eliminating it when it didn't need to be. And it was unnecessary. So for that alone, I'm just going to, deduct a bunch of points on it and just give it a 3.5.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I'm going to give this one a solid 4. I enjoyed it. I think it was definitely in the category of rewatching it. I'm actually probably going to watch it at least one more time this week just to, see how it holds up. And I think it will hold up. And I definitely think this season is a lot more solid than I think last season was turning up. And I've been enjoying the first 3 episodes. I hope it continues next week, because looking next week, it looks like we get Ruby back. And so I'm looking forward to seeing her. And, is it a Dr. Light episode, or is it, what is it? And, will we see the Earth blow up at the end of the episode? You don't know. And I'm very curious to see, did I like everyone's been saying, I liked the characters, loved the character of Alice. She almost knocked it up to a 4.5 for me, actually bringing it. And so the actress who did it, was just wonderful. And, being a former special ed teacher, I have no sign language. And so it was wonderful to see characters who fully spoke it, and they didn't try doing gibberish or pretending to do it. So I was very pleased with that to see. So definitely would love to hear from folks at home. What did you guys think? We don't have any mail this week. I'm sorry, we didn't get anything from Elizabeth.
What?
Oh, I know. Sad enough. But Dan, you had mentioned that you want to talk a little bit about Lux from last week.
I just I wanted to I enjoyed your episode, everyone. Thank you for the episode. I thought it was very good. And I enjoyed the episode Lux too. I like the I love the animation. I love the Who Framed Roger Rabbit meets Duck Amuck meets Purple Rosa Cairo meets Sherlock Jr. of all of it.
Oh yeah.
But I was this is specifically, and someone may have already said this online. The thing is, at the moment I'm writing reviews for the second volume of my book for this season, so I'm not reading a lot of online reviews because I don't want to hear things that go ooh, and then suddenly find it's in my review and be like, oh Dan, you can't do that. So someone may have already pointed this out, but in the scene where the Doctor and Melinda meet the fans. Obviously, our RTD is, showing off, just kind of making fun of the fans a little, also showing some love towards them. But I also, when I was watching it, I also thought of the first Doctor Who story where the Doctor, and I think it's the first one, not counting, say, like the Daleks and the Chase, watching them on the time-space visualizer thing. That doesn't count as fans. They're trying to kill them. But there is a story early on where the Doctor lands on a planet and meets a bunch of fans. And it's the Savages. And I know how much Russell T Davies loves his spin-offs and creating the world and cross-promotion and publicity. And it occurs to me that the Savages just came out on Blu-ray It's a lost story. They just animated it.
Right.
And in The Savages, when the Doctor, Dodo, and Steven land on this unnamed planet, everyone comes out and says, "Oh my gosh, it's the traveler through time. We've been watching all your adventures on our magical TV. We love everything you do. Let's go sit down, have dinner, and talk about your stories." They don't quite say that, but they basically say that. And so I'm wondering if part of the fan thing was referencing us sitting around and talking about the show, and also maybe a little cross promotion with The Savages, which is the first time that happened, where super geeky fans, who turn out to be pretty terrible people, come out and say, "Hey, it's you, the Doctor. We love your show. Come on in." And so I just thought, and I'm sure a half a dozen other people have probably pointed that out already, but it occurred to me when you were talking about it on your episode. I thought of that for some reason, so I thought I'd bring it up.
No, very, very good.
It's a great observation. I haven't seen The Savages, so I wouldn't know, but and that totally got by me. But like I said, as Darian pointed out last week, like they are using they're not just referencing RTD's not just referencing his new Who stuff, but also classic Who as well, willy-nilly, it seems like, throughout a lot of these stories. And I would not put it past them to be like, oh, well, let's put something like that in. And that'll be kind of a reference there.
Like bringing the Macra back in Gridlock sort of thing. Why are they there? Who knows? I mean, maybe to prove that the second Doctor didn't commit genocide when he killed them all in the Macra Tear. Maybe not. Who knows? But it's fun to have them there. And I don't know if this is the Savages thing is true, but I kind of like the thought that, because nobody really knows the Savages, apart from the people who saw it when it originally aired, and they might not remember it very well anymore. So,
very true. Very, very true. So I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
One more time, where can people find your book?
Oh, yes, it's on Amazon. If you go look up When I Say Read, or Daniel R. Budnik, that's Budnik, no C in that. You'll find my other books on there, too.
That's awesome. Like I said, we'll have a link up to it.
Thank you.
Up in the show notes. And folks, look for it. Of course, folks, we couldn't do this without you. And if you've made it this far into the video or into the audio, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. That's how people find us. That's how people, algorithms, go, hey, these guys are actually pretty good. And you know what? I didn't even mention this. Over on Good Pods, Earth Station Who is in the top 10 of Doctor Who podcasts.
Nice.
Yes. We finally cracked the top 10.
All right.
Well, there's only 10 Doctor Who podcasts on there, but that's...
But still.
Now, we know that that's not true.
Yeah.
That might not be.
So, but, folks, thank you, everyone who has been listening. From all of us on the show, we do appreciate you guys so much. All right. If you, want to, find us, or, we're available on social media. We do have a Instagram, and we do have a Facebook page. Check out our group on Facebook. It's awesome. We've got a great, bunch of folks in there who post, and, it's a lot of us posting up there too. So it's really cool to do. And, we're always looking for, people to join us up on the show. Please write us feedback@earthstationwho.com. It's the best way to do it. Let's thank our regulars for being here. Melanie, it is so good to have you back.
I'm so happy to be back and be able to watch Doctor Who and talk about it with y'all. Honestly, I'm really liking this season. Myself and my husband's really liking it. He's already lamenting the idea of Ncuti leaving, in 15 years. But
Yeah. Well, let's hope he stays for a while.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. Where can people find your artwork, dear?
You can find me mostly I live on Instagram, so that is Pieces of Melee. Also on Instagram, if you want to see my full-time job, which is playing with stained glass and all that kind of fun stuff, and where you can learn how to do it too, that would be Diamond Tech Crafts, Crafts.
Awesome. And of course, Mr. Mike Gordon, we've made it through another one, my friend.
We did, and as always, it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to promote?
Just doing the thing with the podcasting thing. In addition to this show, you can see me on Bat Chums, which we're reviewing the Batman 60 series, one episode at a time. Dragon Con Report, we just recorded a new episode this past week, and so that's a lot of fun. And also the new one, the new vidcast that I'm doing that's exclusively on YouTube, which is the new Legend Lounge. We've got 2 of those that are up now, and we're releasing a third one this week because it's summer movie season, so we're doing our summer movie preview.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sounds cool, dude. And of course, the lovely and talented Mary Ogle.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm with Melanie. I'm loving this season so far. It's been great.
Yep, it has been a ton of fun. Where can people find your stuff?
They can find me at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. That is awesome. And definitely check out her stuff, folks. Both Melanie and Mary put out some amazing artwork, folks. Very cool stuff. I don't have anything really to promote otherwise because I put my podcasts on hold for this last week since I was on vacation. And I actually didn't produce anything except for Earth Station Who. Go figure. Doctor Who always takes precedence on that kind of stuff. But please, join us again next week, and we are going to be talking about the next wonderful Doctor Who episode. We are going to be looking at Lucky Day. Woohoo! So, it should be a ton of fun to do. Until then, my name is Mike Faber. On behalf of Mr. Mike Gordon, Ms. Mary Ogle, Ms. Melanie Dean, and Mr. Daniel Budnik, thank you so much for joining us, and we will all see you here next time on Earth Station Who. Peace, folks. We'll see ya. Ciao.
Mike, what's up behind you? What's up behind you, Mike?
Yeah, what is that?
It's an empty room, damn it, so shut up.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from throughout space and time. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individuals and are to be used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our show wherever fine podcasts are found, or check out our website, earthstationwho.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and if you enjoyed the show, please write to us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next journey of Earth Station Who.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.